Okay, hello everybody. This is a little post-webinar unboxing. I got this very nice long box in the mail. You can just guess what it is. A box like this shape comes to my house. This is from Santosh up in Quebec. Really great maker of wooden sparring weapons, historically accurate. I have not peeked at them. I got this actually a couple weeks ago. Been traveling seminars and such, so I didn't want to peek ahead of time. I wanted to do this live. So I definitely recommend people use scissors, by the way. And a lot of people like to use knives. I mean, a lot of martial artists have a knife around, but easy when it gets cut to slit that and cut yourself. Nice pair of Chinese scissors does the trick. That one really easily. It's very easy. Okay. One thing I really like and appreciate about Santosh, actually two things. One is he's always improving his product. And that's why, he sent me swords in the past, throw that stuff out. And he keeps sending me new ones now and then when he's made an improvement. And you got to really appreciate somebody who's got an excellent product, but doesn't rest on his laurels, comes back and looks at it again and again. So this should be a Dao and a Jian. The other thing I really like about Santosh is he's great on the follow through. If you order a sword from him, he will give you a time. You're going to get it, this is when it's slotting into production. And he will deliver when he said. And I got to appreciate that. It's tough for a craftsman to make a living these days. I think we should support the craftsmen rather than big companies. Aha, really nice. Okay, so the first one is very nice willow leaf, really quite nice. For those people in the academy, he will burn this logo on. That is, stick that in the camera there for a moment. That, of course, is Great River Taoist Center seal. And if you're in the academy, you just tell him, he will put that on for you, no extra cost. So it's just a nice little thing. It says Changhe Dao Jia. Very nice. Okay, so here's a couple of things. He has laminated. So tips are, of course, always a weak spot on any weapon. And what he's done here is laminated. How did he do that? Okay, I see. Oh, very nice. So it's a solid piece of wood, and he's cut out a section here and put a laminate in. I don't think you'd be able to see that on camera too well, but he's inserted a piece of, looks like maybe, I'm not sure, a piece of laminated wood. So that's added a lot of extra strength to the tip. So that's going to be good and solid. So that's a really good feature. That's the kind of thing that, a professional woodworker does. It's really nice. Fullers are really beautifully cut, nice and straight. There's no little wiggly wonkiness to them, really nice. And they come to a little bit, you see this on some period pieces. Instead of it just being rounded, you can see there, they come to a little bit of a point, which is kind of just a nice little feature. Good and solid. See, and that's nice and rounded. So, some makers like to make it look more like a sword and will bevel it. And okay, it looks nicer, but then it's a problem using it in sword play because that sharper edge is going to do more damage. If you're especially want to do play, like in the summertime, even here in Virginia, we're getting into October now. It's still, you can see I'm a little bit sweaty just from teaching class today because it's so humid. Sometimes you don't want to put on all the gear. You just have, if you're training with somebody somebody you can trust. You're not going to whack each other really hard. So yeah, boom, it hurts. But if you bevel that to a sharp edge, then it really, really hurts. So, and causes damage. So this is nice, wide, rounded edge. It's going to hurt, but it's not going to do nearly as much damage. Feels good. Yeah, see the balance is right in the, right in the historical realm. This one is willow leaf, obviously a straighter one. I think he did that for me because, of course, doing so much Jian, when I do my Dao, I tend to mix using the tip in a little bit more. Actually, you might say that's not a willow leaf. I might say that's a goose quill. Yan Mao Dao. He's got it actually beveled a little bit here at the tip to make it, look at that. So it's a little more lively, you could say, a little more Jian-ish, not quite the same, but a little bit more Jian-like than other types of dao that curve more or that don't taper as much. So it'll give a little more robust cut, depends on the situation. The Yan Mao Dao, you could kind of call it a hybridized saber because it's double-edged here, as this one has simulated. Double-edged, so you can use Tiao kind of movements and thrusts and so on. So quite nice. Oh, and also I should point out, same thing, the guard is also laminate. So that makes it really strong. I'm sure the grain goes different ways. Sometimes I've seen in the past, people will make those out of one piece, not Santosh, other makers. It's one piece of wood, and if the grain is running that way or whichever way it's running, if you take a strike, it snaps. And this will not snap. So you can see he's got a pin there. Let's take a quick look at that as well. You see how that's got a pin driven in there. And you can see, oh, there's 4 pins. Oh, excuse me, 3 pins. One on the bottom, one on each side. So that's really, I can't imagine that's going anywhere. And nice pommel. And of course, also quite nice, really good grip wrap. Which is a nice thing to have. Feels great in the hand. So definitely say that's a recommended buy. If you're looking for a good, solid, historically accurate weapon, wood and steel keeps it real. I've been saying that for a while, and somebody added, foam and plastic ain't fantastic. So follow the tradition, be strong in our traditions, get a good solid sword, wood sword for practicing. So for sparring, but form practices too. All right, so that's good. Definitely recommend that. Don't see any problems with it at all. And you know what that is? It's probably a invoice for customs. And so this is a Jian. I've really been waiting to open these up. I've had it for almost like a month. I'm sure he's been waiting for me to do the review as well. But with a couple of seminars this month and a little personal travel, I've just been on the road and I wanted to do it live. Okay, come on. Get out of there. Boom. All right. Oh, ooh, very nice. So, Jian, of course, very obviously a Jian. Good, lively feel. And this is quite nice. He put on here Ti Tian Xing Dao, which is something I've had on many of my practice swords. It's a saying, an uncommon saying that means help heaven to achieve the Tao, you could say. It's a saying that's often was used by rebel groups, the overthrow the Qing, restore the Ming, sometimes use that. But it's I always like that saying, and he carved that in there for me. So that's really, really beautiful, very nicely done. And wow, it's really nicely done, really. Sometimes when people, obviously, if you haven't grown up using a brush to write, you don't always know, those little things, little details of characters, whereas it's thicken and thin, and it might be a little bit blocky, kind of look like it's just drawn with a magic marker. But this is actually quite nice. If you look like at the Dao character here, that's really, really nicely done. I wish my calligraphy was that good. So that's quite nice. And, as on the Dao, he has this as a standard thing. He just burns that on. So anybody in the academy can request that and put that on. Really nice fuller, very nicely done. Yeah, what you would expect from his work. Straight as an arrow. Balance is spot on. And another nice thing he does for those people, you can request this. Of course, it's nice for me. The shape of the guard, shape of the pommel is just like on the cutting Jian that I designed 20 years ago or something. Now it's still out, banging along strong. The cutting Jian I did for Hanwei that you get from CAS or get from 7 Stars Trading Company, my company. So it's kind of nice. I really like that shape. This is a really shape of a guard that you see going back into the Ming Dynasty. I've seen it on Ming Dynasty swords and in Ming period illustrations. So I know it goes back at least that far. It's a pretty typical, it's a taotie, it's that animal head shape, but with these little sort of cutouts here. So I really like that. So really nice. You'll probably see me at a seminar with this. Really nice and lively. Boy, really, he got the balance really right on. There's a little bit of variation in balance point on swords, not as much as people think. I've sometimes seen comments, not to pick on anybody, but comments on Face Crook of that saying, oh, well, the balance should be whatever you like, or what do you prefer? That is not the case. Absolutely, that is historical nonsense to suggest that a sword was balanced the way you want it. It's not the case. A sword has to be balanced to do the job it's supposed to do. It's kind of like saying, oh, I'm going to become a carpenter. I'll go design a hammer. No, you don't. The hammer, people know what a hammer is supposed to be. You go to the hardware store and you buy a claw hammer. Claw hammers have been around since Roman times, like 2,000 plus years old. I've seen them from archaeological museums. Like, well, look at that. It's just like a modern hammer you can buy at the hardware store today, because it has to have the weight and balance that you can pound that nail in, but you have to be able to control it. Same thing here. I got to be able to deliver a robust cut, but I can't be, pulling forward, so it's not so heavy that it's more powerful, but like a sledgehammer, and I can't control it. But it's also got to have a balance point that lets me, quickly maneuver it, so I can move around really quickly. And it can't be so far back. That would make it easier. Some people say, oh, the balance should be here. No, absolutely not. No historical sword was balanced here at the guard. That makes it very easy to move, but then you can't cut with it. And swords that I've seen that were balanced that way, incorrectly balanced, when you cut something solid, even just a piece of, thick piece of bamboo, or if you're cutting into a tree to test the strength of the sword, make sure it's okay, doing a structural analysis test, it just gives you terrible hand shock. So once again, Santosh has nailed it. So if you're looking for one of his swords, I definitely recommend them. I recommended them before, but again, he just keeps improving. Whenever we see something's a little bit of a problem, I will let him know, oh, this happened, that happened, and right away he answers and he looks to find ways to improve. The guard here, of course, you see is a little bit higher than the blade, which it needs to be. That could be sometimes a little bit thicker than historical, but it has to be, above the blade, because the blade is obviously much thicker than a proper steel blade would be. So that's on there. And of course, the grain goes different ways, so it's nice and strong. So you can find him, Santosh Weapons. You can find him on Facebook. He's also on Instagram. Just search and find him. Put in an order with him. There's his logo right there, Santosh. If you're looking for a good sword for your forms, historically accurate, or for sparring, he's a good source. Thanks, everybody. Stay strong. Jian.